Okay, we need a motion to reconvene open session, please.
Make a motion.
Thank you. First, Ocean, second, Eastern. All in favor? Okay. Welcome to the board meeting. It's nice to see your friendly faces. If you would stand with me, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mrs. Freeman, do you have a special recognition this evening?
I do, but I do not have the board packet pulled up because it will not open on my machine. So I will read it off of Mrs. Ginsburg.
Okay.
We had a teacher, Stephanie Brake, who was selected as a delegate to the Regional Cooperating Teachers Forum by the DESE because she will be working with Missouri Office of Educator Quality and the Missourians Transforming Educator Preparation to strengthen school-university partnerships. So they're actually talking, she went to a roundtable session last week. The state is reimbursing us for the sub and for her mileage and all of those things, and she will be participating in a forum that will oversee at the state level the guidelines for student-teacher practices, and then also they're in the works of talking about having master teachers located in areas of the state to act as a liaison and in a supervisory capacity, and she's being chosen to be one of those people. So I just wanted to share that with everyone.
Okay, thank you, and I apologize I didn't address you as Dr. Freeman.
That's quite all right.
That's fine. Okay, we do have one visitor at this time signed up to address the board. Miss Savannah Hopkins, you can come forward and sit at this desk. You're going to be allowed 3 minutes to address the board, okay? And the board may or may not respond.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
All right.
Hi everyone, I'm Savannah Hopkins, and this week there has been several break-ins in the parking lot of the school, and a lot of things have been stolen. The high school.
High school.
Yes, I'm a senior at Hillcrest. Okay. Hi. And I myself have had my Jeep broken into. I have a newer Jeep. It's a 2015, so I love it with all my heart.
Lucky you.
Yeah. And someone climbed through my back window because I have a soft top, and they stole my electronic cigarette, which was just sitting in there. Then I reported that, there's a couple other instances with other kids also who had the same thing stolen or more things stolen out of their vehicles too. And it happened again today, in my Jeep again today. So I bought a new one because my other one had been stolen, and then this one got stolen today. So my center console, since I had locked it because I was scared someone would break in again, and my glove box, I had locked that also. They were both broken into, completely destroyed, both of them. You can't open or close them properly. They're messed up. They need to be replaced. And I just think that at first something should have been, some security cameras. Like, if they can afford new football uniforms, then they should be able to afford surveillance cameras that work, like that can see the edge of the parking lot. So then instances like this don't happen. And this isn't just this year that it's happened years previous to this. So I just wanted to share that and see if anything could be done about that, because I'm very frazzled.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that would be all of our visitors, correct? Okay. Okay, moving on to the agenda, we'll start with action items by consent.
I recommend pulling item G3 down for a short presentation.
Pull that one out, the APR and map results.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We can pull that one out. Any other thoughts? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda minus G3?
So moved.
Thank you. A second? Mrs. Zaharsky? All in favor of approving the consent agenda, raise your hand. Okay. With one abstention. Okay, so we're moving, going to discuss the G3 now, or?
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that would be Mrs. Holford.
Yes, I just have a brief presentation in addition to what's not in your packet, to kind of explain some things. Sometimes it's hard to do. To calculate our APR, it's in this book. So I just wanted to be able to explain just a couple of things. You can go to the first one, thanks. Okay, Missouri's Top 10 by 20 plan holds a primary goal that all students will graduate high school, college, and career ready. To measure that progress, DESE computes our APR, or our annual performance report score, for each district and school. Within your packet, you had it broken down by district and then by each attendance center. The state uses status, progress, and growth to calculate our APR, and I put an example of one of the formulas, just so you can kind of see what all goes into this. It's not just the raw numbers that they use, it's formulas like this where some of that doesn't even make sense. There are 5 areas that they use to calculate our APR, if you want to go to the next one, please.
Does it make sense?
Academic achievement, in grades 3 through 8, we take the MAP test in math and English language arts, science in 5th grade and 8th grade, and then Algebra 1, English 2, biology, and civics at the high school level. Our subgroup achievement, our college and career readiness, that includes things like the percent of students performing at or above the state average on the ACT, the ASVAB, percent of graduates who earn qualifying scores on an AP exam. Those are just some examples of what is in that category. The attendance data, pretty straightforward, and the graduation rate, which is based on our COFAR group. So those are the 5 things that go into calculating our APR. There are several things that were in place last year that were changes to the calculation on the APR, and there are a couple of additional things for this year that they changed. I really want to draw your attention to that first item. We are considered hold harmless again this year because in grades 3 through 8, the test changed and has done so for the past 3 years. So we are able to capture the scores all the way back to 2014. So if 2014 math was better, then we take those scores and calculate our 2016 APR. 2017, it will not be that way. So that's very important to understand. We will go strictly off of the scores in the spring for the 2017 APR, which is, we haven't had to do that in the past 3 years.
So basically, they've taken the scores over all those years and kind of cut and pasted to get our score this year. Like the best?
The best.
Is that what they did?
In
Okay.
English and language arts.
Okay.
English, language arts, and math only.
Okay.
Not in science or social studies. Those are true to the year.
Okay.
But next year, we will not be able to go back to 2014, and I can tell you that there was only one area that we used scores from 2016 to calculate this year's APR.
So
So
that'll
we're
work.
grabbing scores for 2014. I can look in my, I want to say it's I'll look it up.
No. it's
Um,
a big hit.
So we're capturing scores from 2014 and 2015 in order to calculate this year's APR. Next year, that will not be the case.
So 16, they used very little data from.
I believe there was one area.
One, that's
I
what
can
you
look it
said.
up.
But that's because the test was so new, that was our first year completely everybody online, or is the second year?
This would be the second year we were all online, I believe.
Okay.
But the test will take, the content and the format changed, and it has changed over the past 3 years.
Right.
The test we will take in this year, in the spring, will be just like it was in
So
2016.
it will be the same.
Yes. And that's why
Even
they'll
though
capture.
we kind of changed our standards a little bit?
Well, we haven't changed our standards. What we're doing right now is realigning our standards because the test will change not this year, but it'll change next year for math and ELA. So we're preparing for that.
Okay.
What we're doing right now is continually teaching the standards that we taught last year.
Okay.
We're rewriting those in preparation for next year, or realigning, I should say. The calculation of progress in ELA and math is calculated on a normal curve equivalent, and that is just a statistical method which measures standard or student achievement, kind of like one of that formula that I just showed you. The Census Administration for ACT basically just means that all students will receive an opportunity to provide a valid ACT score. 11th grade this year was 18.6. The graduating class was 19.5. The state average is 20.2, and the national average was 20.8. Just give you a point of reference there. And then the expansion of career and technical education, we got 2 bonus points in that area this year. Kathy, what did they expand on at Jeffco?
Next year's early childhood, this year was, biomedical.
Biomedical. So we got 2 bonus points in that area. Okay, this was in, Aaron, if you'll go to the next one. This was in your packet. This was the district as a whole. I didn't break it down building by building for this presentation. My numbers are all over the place for some reason. This is not final. This is just a preview. Our final results do not come out until Halloween, so they will not be out until Monday, and then they are embargoed until November the 7th, which means we can't publish them. We were given permission to share this information with you all, but we can't publish or do anything like that. If this holds true, if that 91.1% holds true, we will receive the academic, yes. Correct, so. I don't think that'll shift a whole lot. That is an increase from last year, and I put those numbers within your packet. We've had an increase over the past 3 years. Okay, areas to address. I can tell you that we have been working hard to take all of this information. We can't just go on the math test for 1 year and try to pick out where we need to improve on. So what we've done, and it was in your packet, I didn't do this, Mr. Allison had done this in years previous, given a historical view of where we lie proficient and advanced against the state average. In combination with a whole binder full of data that we've compiled, try and pick out some of our weak areas. So then what we've done is we've shared it with all, we've had discussions, and they've come up with some building plans to specifically address those areas of weakness. But it is important to know we can't just look at this year's test. We have to look at it historical view, and if you looked in your packet, you can see exactly where we can pull out those weaknesses. And we have building plans to do that. The other thing that's important to understand is we are going, as we realign our curriculum, and in early November we will start rewriting the math. That's going to make, in my opinion, a difference, because there's some areas that we need to focus on. That's all I have. Do you have any questions? Okay, very nice. We can get the lights, please. Come on.
Okay, so we did pull this from the consent agenda. We need to approve this report. Call it that.
I move that we approve the APR
Renee
results.
seconds. Any other questions or concerns before we vote? Okay, all in favor to approve the APR and MAP report? Raise your hand. All right, very good. Okay, so that moves us down to the report section, and we'll start with the superintendent's report.
We have several reports, as you see, planned there this evening, so I'm not going to take a lot of time. I know I say that every month, but I'm not going to take a lot of time, and you're going to be really surprised that I haven't. I really want to focus on the updates. I'm not going to go through the informational readings. There's so much. If you didn't take or you didn't have an opportunity to read through some of the pending court cases, you need to please take time to do that. Those are pending in front of various state Supreme Courts and national Supreme Courts, a lot involving special education students. So please take that opportunity to read those. I have a brief update here for you on lead water testing. I know that Mr. Best is covering that as well as in his report. We have 3 units that are older units. It was my understanding to speak with Ray that these units need to be replaced due to their age. The first one listed above on the list is in need of replacement. However, the recommendation is to change all 3 of these due to the age. So I know Ray's working on that. An update on the football field regarding the EPA. Ray and I and a couple of members, one from EPA and one from Prudent Technologies, who's doing the mitigation process, did a walkthrough. We pointed out some things that they needed to repair, focus on. As I wrote here, we're a little concerned about the asphalt. We actually measured from the parking lot in front of the intermediate by the signal light all the way back, because there's some alligator cracking, surface cracking due to the weight of the 18-wheelers coming in. But I can honestly say down by the field house, that is utterly destroyed. So that will all be new asphalt, and we knew that going into it. They weren't really prepared for what was happening all the way out to the signal light. I don't use the word minimal. There is some, but it's not as in-depth and invasive as the other. So I see a new parking lot there, and the gravel going down to the track, and actually one spot across the track. So when we get close to finishing that up, we'll have probably the facilities committee walk through with us, take a look at that before we do the final checkoff. I do want to speak to really 3 main items this evening. I received a report that there was some concern on how teachers, and I kind of got this afternoon, this evening, so I had time to visit with the administrators, how our staff log into access and report the need of transportation to various events, whether it be the vans that we have. I know a trip had to be canceled because of planning. So the administrators in our transportation department, Regina Phillips, will need to get together, and we'll get a report to you on how we do that. What's our process? How does a teacher notify a building administrator they need to take a van? How is that van approved? How does transportation log that? How are we, because sometimes we approve trips months, if not out to the end of the year. I know band is very good about giving them all in August, and we plan all of them out. So we'll get you some more information on that, so please make a note, administrators and Regina, that we'll need to do a report on that. And I'll have Beth Ann jot me a note down so we can all get that information to the board. Communications planning, I've already sent an email to the administrators. I've talked to several individuals about being on the communications planning committee. Of course, that is one of the superintendent goals I'm working on this year, about improving communication in all aspects, not just with parents, but also our patrons and business owners. Matt Woods has agreed to be on that committee with us, and I think Matt plays a pivotal role in our community. So we're reaching out. If you, as a board member, would like to be on that, just let me know. we're extending that invitation to you. We're going to have parents, we're going to have business owners, administrators, teachers, board members, and we really want to focus on parents and individuals that do not have kids that attend the district. I think it's important we also communicate with them. At that time, we're going to talk about the app development, downloading it, having some community engagement processes there. So just an update. The last thing I want to talk about is our speaker system over at the stadium. As you all know, it was hit by lightning. We've been going back and forth with our attorneys and the people to get them installed, and we've kind of reached a position where we're ready to move forward. Now, in essence, I was concerned because the company orders the equipment in the school's name, but the school pays for the equipment. And my worry was I don't like paying for something before we get it and before it's installed. The labor is not included in that, but it's around $26,000 to $27,000, and the cost to the district is $1,000. My worry was I really don't like to write a check if I don't have the stuff. You order the stuff, then we write you a check. That's how business is done. I called Festus and spoke with Dr. Latrell. Their district has used this company on 5 or 6 different occasions, and they didn't like doing it either, but they've not had any issues doing it. They wrote the check, the equipment is ordered in the school's name, therefore the school owns the equipment. And if something happens, it's still your equipment, and you can have someone else install it if there is an issue. But Dr. Latrell said that he was concerned initially, but after a couple of speaker systems they put up, their gymnasium, their elementary gym, I believe the football field, he said everything's fine. So I'm a little more comfortable now in saying we need to get our speaker system fixed, and there's not a lot of companies that'll do it. Your insurance company said they will absorb all the costs for $1,000. So we need to, if it's the consensus of the board, I'd like to have Mrs. Welker sign that so we can move forward. So questions, comments on that? Yeah, I know, it's stressful. For 3 weeks I've been, hey, I don't like this. I'm nervous about it, but speaking with Link, he was confident in it. So in essence, you're paying for the equipment, they install it. You have to have it. In essence, it's $25,927 plus $500 freight. They are going to give you back a discount of $4,200 for the old equipment. You know, like the cases they can use, or the cones and the wires are all shot fried, and the labor is $5,700 to put it in. So the total cost is $27,927.
Extended warranty.
So they did comply with the Federal Work Authorization Program for E-Verify. That's something they've never been asked to do, and which is unusual because public schools and public entities funded with government money require, I see your architects nodding their head, yeah, everyone has to have E-Verify if they do business with public schools. And they said, hey, this is the first time we've been requested to do that. So you have that agreement in here.
There is no warranty though?
Warranty, yeah, there's warranty on the equipment, yes. Yes, there is warranty on the equipment. And warranty on the installation.
So you're just looking for direction to go
Yeah,
and move forward?
if you want to have your speakers fixed, you're gonna have to
We
pay
have
up
to
front
do
for the
this.
equipment.
Should be done by tomorrow night.
Well, as Eddie says, it's held together with bubblegum duct tape and some baling wire, but it has been limping us along. But it's got to be fixed. It's not going to last much longer.
What's our total cost?
The total cost is $27,927, but our total cost is $1,000.
After they reimburse us.
Yes. As soon as it's installed, and our insurance company's pretty good about getting it to us relatively quickly. Kelly, turn around,
Couple weeks.
and then we have it.
So.
This is, I
really
think, the
no
second or third time our system's been hit. This time, they're installing a huge, I guess, surge protector, for lack of a better word, that it will be hit rather than the equipment. So if I don't hear anybody say, no, don't do it, we're gonna have to, okay.
Have to do it.
And next, I did want to take just a couple of minutes, and I don't know if this is good news, it's kind of celebratory, with our special education monitoring self-assessment. Mr. Whitehead just wanted to give you a brief update. We got a return on that.
Yeah, in the spring of last school year, our cohort, we had to send in 25 files. At that point, they look at the indicators across the board. When we turned them in, we got the results back. 3,078 indicators were reviewed in all the files. One indicator was found out of compliance, so 99.97% of our indicators were in compliance. So that is phenomenal compared to past history as well. That is a huge increase in our compliance part of it. So that one file has been changed, that's been uploaded, DESI's approved it, and our action plan's been approved as well. So we've kind of followed through that same process on that end of it. So looking at other districts as well, we followed highly in regards to the compliance part of it. So I just kind of wanted to update you guys on that end of it, is that 99.97% of our indicators were in compliance.
All right.
Okay, so are you finished then
I'm
with
done.
your report?
Yes,
All right,
ma'am.
so
Thank
we'll
you.
move to facilities and grounds with Director Best. We're still kind of long.
I like yours too. Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Just a briefing of what we've been looking at the past month. We'll start with primary a little bit. We're just going to give you an update what we're doing there besides all the work orders we normally do. But we're working on a nature trail. I don't know if you've ever been back by the Civic Center, but here about a couple months ago, they decided to do a bunch of work back there. And we still don't know what they're doing back there, but they're clearing a bunch of land. When they did that, they kind of rerouted our whole nature trail for the primary back there and kind of messed a lot of stuff up. And then, of course, the weather hasn't been very friendly to us with all the flash floods. So for the last few weeks and stuff, in order for our younger adults to get out and learn what nature's about and have the instructors and teachers show it all to them, we're having to spend a lot of extra time out in the woods. But we're enjoying the weather, so we're okay with that. We're hoping to finish out the third bridge. We have 3 bridges back there actually in the quarter-mile track that's back there. And we've had to rebuild the first 2 already. The third one's a little bit more complex, so a little deeper valley that they have to cross over. We'll be getting that done this week, hopefully. So, but it's pretty neat back there if you ever get a chance to see it. The roofs and stuff, we're still having some issues in the primary and the B wing area. We're still constantly having fight with those leaking. We thought we had it a couple times. We're still finding them on the flash flood areas, as well as the elementary building a little bit. Elementary will be pretty well controlled, I think, now. We're going after the roofs again tomorrow. Since we have no school with the teachers and students with us. So we're going to try a different technique that our roofing company, with the Trimco, has helped us design. So we're going to do that in place tomorrow. So we're hoping it's going to answer the question. The drainage update for your sidewalk for the elementary as well, same with that. We have put the T section in now, the grids for them, which is the ones running north and south. The one going toward the east, which is down the drainage system, goes to the wood lines. That won't be dug up this weekend and put back in place. We did remodify it after you have already approved it. We understand that. We did remodify that one going to the east a little bit, where we're not going to have an open grid where the students or the faculty would have to stand on it. It's actually going to be under the concrete slab. Instead, we're just going to enlarge the pipe underneath the sidewalk. We think that'll be more safer, more economical for the water path. So that's how we're going to design that one now. I'd like to amend Mr. Marino. I put in there a little bit. He was able to get the company to come in, which is ATG, Sports, over in Festus. They come in and actually took care of our field at the high school. They got it all disinfected and everything again for the season. They do that a couple times a year usually, but he was able to get that done a few weeks ago, so it's nice to get it done for us again. In baseball facilities, we're still advancing on that as softball finished up now. We've irrigated that after getting all the infield all done and nicely looking maintained. Now we'll work on the outfield. So we've set the grass seed and the fertilizers now in place for the fall season. And then this later on the season, we'll finish the warning track. So next spring, baseball field is going to look very professional. So the coaches have done a great job helping us with that as well as Eddie. Junior high level and so forth, follow up with Dr. Corman. I talked with Chris today concerning the track. The update is basically they're going to clear the track, finish covering all the holes that were cut for the electrical, because we put all brand new electric on there if you didn't know that, as well as the hillside going up. That will all be taken care of about next Wednesday. So their plans are to be here next Wednesday and Thursday to get all that lower part done. And then, of course, they'll finish up with the plans with us concerning the upper part of the lot. So that's where we're standing on that, give you a final. We did process about 264 on work orders this past month, staying a little bit busy. So it was nice, and everything with other projects. And I don't know if you've seen information on the water fountains that the government had sent out concerning lead in some of the water fountains, the older ones. We did survey all of ours based on the reports that we encountered from them and gathered from them. There's about 3 of them that were really old ones. So 2 of them was really not quite on the list. One of them kind of was on the list by vendor, but we couldn't find the actual serial number. We could find a model and the vendor name. So just be on the safe side. We're replacing them. So we wanted to make sure. That's the way to be, safe. So, and that's what I have for you this evening. So any questions?
Thanks, Ray.
All right, otherwise, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll move on to technology. Ms. Freda.
Good evening. Hello. Between September 9th and October 14th, we completed 204 work orders. In addition to that, we installed some new PCs at the junior high for the Project Lead the Way. And I'm also really excited about something new we're trying in our office. We decided that we wanted to make sure our staff was cross-trained, because some people are experts in some areas and others may not know that area as well. So we decided that every month, one of the employees would have to get up and do a training class for the rest of us. So that way, we're all learning something new. And Mark was our first guinea pig. He got to be the first one. And so he did a presentation on setting up the bell system at the high school. He did a great job, and now everybody in the technology department knows how to do that. So if we have a problem, anyone can fix that. Aaron's going to be our next person, and he's going to be presenting on networking for us. So we're really excited about that. And it's been kind of nice because not only are we cross-training, but it's also given that person, it's a personal development as well for them. In addition to that, we've had some other training going on. Aaron just went to the MORNET conference, came back with that, and he's shared some great ideas with us on how to be more effective. And Mark attended a SQL class, which is a structured query language. So if anyone, you're probably not familiar with that, but it's like a programming language. And it's a great tool for us with Infinite Campus. It's SQL based. So what it allows us to do, for example, at the end of the year, the secretaries have to report how many students are doing tutoring. So what they have to do is, in the past, they would manually enter that information in Infinite Campus for each student. But what SQL allows us to do is to just do a massive import. So in a matter of minutes, all the data is imported. So it's kind of nice, and we're trying to share that. So I knew that in the past, so I'm trying to share it with Mark so we can share some of that knowledge. We've also instituted a better notification system that notifies multiple technology staff in the event devices in our infrastructure go down. So like if our wireless or servers go down, more than one person now knows about it, which it makes it a faster response time for us. And then the last thing, we really just want to thank you guys again for the vehicle. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. It's been pretty amazing for us. Any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Okay, guess we'll move on then to Ms. Ginge and her financial report.
I don't have a whole lot as far as my financial report to tell you. We're trending about just like we did last year. You can see by the revenue and expenditures there. We are running a little ahead on the expenditure side and a little ahead of last year, but that's due to that half payroll we did in August, where we pushed that up a little bit. So we're running about 2.5% higher of our budget in the expenditure line there. I have a budget amendment later in the meeting that I will present to you. And then in the revenue, Aaron, if you can scroll up, I forgot to do a printout, thanks. Our collections and revenue, they're as they're expected to be, they're consistent with last year. Our local collections are consistent as well. So things are coming in the way they should. On the state level, we have seen growth in revenue in general. It's kind of an up and down. August was up, September was down, October's back up again. So overall, we're at a 3.5% increase on the state level, and that's good, that's positive, that means good things for all of us. The governor did release some restricted revenue, $3 million in transportation and $6 million for the foundation formula. So that's good. There still is some restricted money. So hopefully if revenue keeps trending good, he will release more of that. That's about all I have. Unless you have any questions.
Can I make my comment that when the governor says that's not new revenue, we all remember that, right? As a board, you realize that he's not giving us new money. It's the money he already owes us that he just hasn't given us yet.
Right.
So when you see the news headline says the governor releases $50 million to public education, yeah, that's money that he's been holding back.
Yeah.
So just want to clarify that.
Yeah, he's been holding it back to make sure that they're going to get what they expect.
Right.
Prop C is trending really good to our sales tax revenue. Yeah, last year was an excellent year for sales tax revenue. It was up quite a bit, and we're seeing that trend continue. So, good things.
Okay.
Mhm.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Mr. Boyd. The financial report.
We didn't want you to have to wait.
It's quite all right. Good evening, everyone. As everyone knows, my name is Lorenzo Boyd with Stephen Nicholas, and I believe that Dr. Corman gave everyone present a copy of a short summary report that I'm going to go over with the Board of Education this evening. Yeah. So in discussions with the school district, it came to our attention after we were hired that the school district was contemplating doing a bond transaction in the near future. So what we did was put together several analyses that looked at the possibility of the school district issuing bonds sometime in the near future. So now it's come to that fruition that it may be a likely possibility to come April 2017. So what I wanted to do was put together a brief little summary of the district's debt limit. I'll go through this pretty quickly along with debt capacity and things of that nature. So as you know, with the most recent assessed valuation of the school district, we currently have a little over $254 million of assessed valuation. Right now in the state of Missouri, your debt limit is based on 15% of your assessed valuation. So that leaves you with a debt limit of $38.1 million. Well, currently you have about $20.3 million that's outstanding of general obligation bonds. Oh, that's pretty neat. 20.3 million of general obligation bonds that's outstanding, so that leaves you with a legal debt capacity of 17.8 million that you can legally issue in general obligation bonds up to your 15% debt limit. And so further on that bottom of that page also, I wanted to give you kind of a quick graph of how the school district's debt is falling off over the next several years. And as you'll notice, that your final maturity of your current outstanding bonds is 2028. So you'll see there that in 2016, your debt is a little over 2.5 million, and then it drops off significantly from 2018 to 2019.
it goes from roughly 2.6 million to around 1.6 million or so. So you're gaining about $1 million in excess capacity right there. So based on that analysis, on the second page, if you go to the second page, what I really wanted to show you is how over the coming years, your debt really kind of, when you retire par, how your debt is increasing each year. And you'll see that as you retire outstanding bonds, if you look from left to right, with your debt year assessed valuation, your debt limit, if you go from left to right, you'll see how each year from 2016, if you do no new bonds, your capacity raises from 16.9 million to roughly 25 million in 2021. And that's under the assumption that you don't issue any new bonds. So based on that, with the current, going to the next stanza, based on that, the district currently has a debt service tax levy of 94. I'm going to that second stanza right there with the graph, with the chart. Going from left to right, you'll see that just kind of explaining that report, that's a levy report, what we call it at Steeple Nicholas. So the reason why you have a levy year and a debt year, as you know, you set your levy in 1 year and it's used to pay debt the following year. So that's what that kind of dictates. So what you'll see there too at the bottom of that same chart, I kind of put some historical tax collections there so you can see the basis on which we're using some of our assumptions, along with your historical assessed valuation and your state assessed railroad and utilities. So some of those assumptions are based on 5-year averages. So you'll see we're using a 5-year average, which is basically of your assessed valuation of 1.26%. Your debt service tax levy is 94.9 cents. You're roughly collecting about 100% in tax collections each year. Coupled with your state assessed railroad and utilities that you put into your debt service fund, that's about $186,000. So you have a total revenue column right there of all that's generated in your debt service fund. So that kind of gets you to your debt service. So you can see there, exactly from the previous page, you go from 2.6 million to around 1.6 million. So what we wanted to look at was how much did the district issue comfortably at no tax increase. And you'll see there that we put in that fifth from the column from the right, you'll see that's the debt service on approximately 12 million issue if the district would issue all those bonds in one issue right after the election in April 2017. And you'll see that the fund balance, we're using some of the fund balance initially, but you can comfortably issue $12 million of new money bonds and no tax increase. And then you'll see the green column there when it goes to 103%. When your debt service drops off dramatically from 2018 and 2019, you're going to have excess capacity in those years to come back and look at possibly another bond issue of some size.
What year was that again, Lorenzo?
2019.
2019, right. Thank you.
And then on the next page, those are just basically some of the assumptions, but I believe my presentation was to show how we've amortized this following transaction and whether the school district can issue 12 million of bonds at the next 4/7. I shouldn't say next 4/7, that's actually November. Make sure you all vote as well in November. Because in a couple of weeks. You already did? That's wonderful. Twice. That's almost like Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
So, just wanted to show you how you can issue 12 million bonds with no tax increase at the April 2017 election. And so I want to answer any questions that anyone may have.
I understand everything.
That's wonderful. So did anyone have any questions or?
Well, I think one of the questions that I've received from the board and actually from the Facilities Authority had a meeting, Beth Ann, was that on the 17th? A couple weeks ago, week and a half ago, met with the Facilities Authority, which actually discussed the Highway A property that the district has. And one of the questions that came up was, is it feasible as a board for you to evaluate in this initiative to pay off the Highway A property as part of the bond process? As you know, that agreement was 2022 is when it's supposed to be paid off.
2024.
Thank you, Lawrence. That's why I got you here. 2024. And it was entered into the agreement by the district in 2004. 04. Okay, 2004 is when the district agreed to purchase property on Highway 8 during the housing boom as site for a satellite, what I consider a satellite school or an elementary school for the neighboring neighborhood around that area. At that time, as you all know, kind of the housing debacle of the mid-2000s caused a dip in real estate being built. So I asked Lorenzo, because that question was brought up by the Facilities Authority, which in order for the district to purchase that property, they have to have a separate entity manage that property. And as a district, you put $6,000, $7,500, how much do we put each month? And it goes in two different amounts. One goes toward the interest and one goes into a holding account. It's similar to a balloon note on a home with a final payoff amount. So the question was, is it a better opportunity to utilize bond money to decrease the amount the district pays each year, which is roughly $75,000.
$78,500.
You're good.
Yeah, he already has it written down. He's prepared. That the district has to pay.
I do
So
not.
in essence, you're taking that amount and doubling it each month and paying it each year. So from that $75,000, how much money could we save between now and 2024 versus how much would we pay in interest if we were to sell the bonds and use part of the portion of the proceeds to pay off that property to save the public interest? Typically, right now, you're paying 5% in interest on the property. Bonds, depending upon, we won't get into being sold at a premium, but if bonds are sold, you have varied interest rates, whether it's 1.2, whether it's 2.0, and a lot of things go into that. Your rating with Standards & Poor's, whether you got a AAA, AA+, whatever the district's rating is at that time. So I guess, Lorenzo, take it from there and talk to the board about options.
Okay.
Is it better for the board to look to use bonds to pay off the property or continue paying as it is now?
In the financial, and I'll say, so talking to Ms. Gange about this, she was able to locate the original trust, I guess, that was done back in 2004. So we took a look at that just to see, make sure we had all our T's crossed and our I's dotted. So essentially what the school district is paying is 5% interest on that loan through 2024. And as you mentioned, you're paying $6,500 a month in an account to interest. And then you're creating another account, which is a reserve account, just depositing that same amount every month. So then that is accumulated, and while you're doing that, you're paying $78,000 every year in that reserve account, and that's to help you pay off that balloon, because otherwise if you didn't do that, you would have a $1.5 million balloon that you have to pay in 2024. So right now, you have a substantial sum in that account, over $929,000 to go towards that balloon. By the time this bond issue is done in April, if you continue making those payments, you'll have about $980,000. Let's just say, let's round it up to $1 million. So the question was, taking a look at it and just being simplistic, is it better if we were to basically keep the same match maturity and take $600,000, just kind of rounding up there, $600,000, because there is no prepayment, there is no penalty to prepay that initially looking through those documents. We can advertise, and if the school district could afford to do so, I mean, it depends on if there are other projects that warrant $600,000, but you can probably use that money for other purposes as well. But we can advertise $600,000 of bonds going through 2024, the same match maturity. You'll be paying an overall interest rate of right around 2% altogether. So you're basically paying off 5% interest rate with a 2% interest rate, kind of just think about almost like a refinancing. So in simplistic terms, it is advantageous to take that $600,000 out of, not unless there's a more pressing need of projects that need to come up, but it is advantageous for the school district to take $600,000 of your bond proceeds when it passes, notice I said when it passes, and pay 2% interest over the next 7 years versus paying 5% interest.
So you're saving 3% interest
You save
each year
yeah, exactly.
between now and 2024.
Yeah. So it's just something to contemplate, and we'll be more than happy to put this in analysis too as well. But we know what the structure is, just a matter of you guys telling us if that's what you want to do. And if you do want to do that, just have to make sure that you put that appropriate language
Correct, in your
in
bond language.
the ballot language to make sure that you're going to pay that off. Any questions? Me?
What else
None?
do we need to know?
Not a whole lot. I have another presentation on CNI next, so I'll just stay up there curriculum instruction, so I'll just stay up there for the
You
next.
just stay up and present for, okay, well, Lorenzo, we'd love to hear your curriculum analysis.
Yeah, thank you.
Mathematics maybe, but CNI, maybe look to someone else. But thank you for your time.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank
you.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Okay, so we want ARC Images to come forward. I'm trying to get another chair. I don't know what.
No, we're good. I'm just the guy here.
Oh.
Lori's handing out documentation.
Okay.
As we've learned, we can't read anything on the screen, and we're closer to it than you are, so.
Oh, that's upside down. We're all a little blind. Blind. Or deaf. Take your pick.
Well, good evening. My name's Greg Gardner, principal with Arc Images Architects and Planners, and Dr. Cornman asked me to come here this evening and give you a brief update on our April 2017 bond process, what we've been working on with our facilities steering committee for the past several months, and give you some updated information. Go to the first part of the PowerPoint there. You can see from your handout, we kind of developed a theme as a steering committee at the top of the page: explore, decide, implement. We're together with the board exploring ideas and concepts that have been developed over the past several years and are being tracked by facilities regarding your school facilities and projects that are in need. We're coming to a point where we want to decide what those elements need to be for this bond issue, and then the exciting portion of implementing those solutions, across the district. So we're excited to be part of that process. Some of our process elements, and again with the Facility Steering Committee, which was formed probably roughly 2 years ago when we were brought on board, and it's made up of a variety of folks representing board liaisons, some of the folks here tonight, administration folks, facilities, and then our design group. Together we bring expertise in all different areas, and those here at the district and ourselves, and informing our ideas and presenting ideas back here to the board tonight. Based off your 2013 study that was completed, you've been seeing some updated matrix project lists that Aaron has brought to you for the past several months. It's building off that study, and then since 2013, facilities and the steering committee has added to that list of potential projects, a bucket list, if you will, of needs across the district for each of the facilities. We've changed from a priority sequencing to developing 4 categories. We think it's important that as we get closer to the public vote, that our topics become clear, and so we categorized from a priority into learning and wellness, security and safety, code compliance, and technology and maintenance. So in a sense, what we've done is we've taken the priority list and categorized those into those 4 categories, which you've seen in past matrix that we've delivered here for other meetings. Since 2013, other projects have been added. Other projects have been accomplished. And this matrix that we've developed, we feel, is an ongoing living document for the district that will help us prioritize as we have accomplishments through this April bond issue, and just in general capital spending. We want to have a mechanism that the district can very quickly analyze what the needs are, prioritize them, and as funding opportunities become available for different amounts, we can quickly give our recommendations on what should rise to the top and be accomplished. And if we keep that up to date, it also gives community a sense that we're good stewards of the money and we understand where it's going and why it's going there. So that's really what our matrix has been developed for, and we hope that will be an ongoing tool for the district. Some of the other tools that we're developing in preparation for the bond issue, we felt it was important to have a mission statement specifically about this event, and we'll go over that in just a minute. Develop even a special logo for this, create that theme. We're working together with Dr. Kornman on a brochure, an information brochure that will be sent out to the public that explains what we're doing and how we're doing it and why. And then also a public survey to get some feedback early on, on the process that the steering committee has taken. We'll review tonight a little bit of the timeline from this point forward to the bond issue, several important things that we have to accomplish. It identifies all of our steering committee meetings, our important coordination back here to the board as we make certain steps and want to get your approval and keep you informed. And then even down to our administrative staff meetings as we gather more information from the staff at each facility. We've already accomplished multiple facility walkthroughs with Ray and his group, so we're continuing to refine the data that we have. It's a layering process of getting more and more information on a wide number of projects, so we have to continually upgrade our information, and that's an ongoing process. We'll look at the timeline from a brochure delivery and the public survey, when those results will be available to us. Our public workshops, we have 3 that we're going to be proposing. Various levels of information that we get out in public forums that will be announced, so that again we can gather information, report the survey information, and just bring the community up to speed on where we're heading for this April issue and why. The bond filing information and dates, and then ultimately the election. So we're tracking several of those key processes in our timeline. The next page, some of the elements I talked about as our tools. Aaron, you can go to the next one. I'll just briefly read our mission statement that we came up as a group. We think it's very important. It helps us as we, as a steering committee, look and evaluate and make decisions. Keeps us on track and is the reason why we're conducting this process. We want to develop an improvement plan that integrates the objectives of the district's policies and curriculum and provides solutions that enhance our ability to maximize the educational experience for our students. We want to utilize a collaborative approach that explores parental, educator, and administrative points of view while encouraging widespread community participation in the planning process. It's a gathering from lots of different perspectives. And then ultimately generating value-based alternatives that promote facility equality, assess access to technology, connectivity between students and teachers, while creating secure, sustainable, and dynamic learning environments for the 21st century. So again, we developed that as a group, as a way of keeping our minds clear and towards the mission. The logo in your upper hand right there of the document is, we felt it's important to give a signature logo for this specific process that we're in. Mines under construction. We think that signifies what we're doing. And then some pictures of the district in April of 2017. It gives a recognizable element for the community to understand when documents go out, when information is being talked about, it's about the bond issue. They begin to understand that logo represents that specific task that we're undertaking. And it's all important. It's all about the mines we're helping to continue to keep under construction. The brochure, the sample that we're working on now, again, will be sent out. It's going to explain the process that we've been through and where we're headed and why. A little bit maybe of the financial information we just heard tonight. And what are the next steps? What is the forums that we invite the public into? When are they? Where are they going to be? And what are the topics? What can they expect? And what are we wanting back from them, from the survey? Really very informational, and is a way for us to touch base and give them information prior to just having a meeting or a workshop session face-to-face. Survey will be sent out, which will ask specific questions about the matrix and the projects and the improvements we're looking at to get some feedback. Then we can report those back in those workshops of what the results were and show them. So everyone gets an idea of what the entire community is thinking. Different timelines for each of these elements to be sent out and collected, and we've got that all organized so that we're building momentum and information as we get closer to the election date. And I think, Dr. Kornman, you're going to have various meetings, and in fact the next meeting deliver the final product so the board can look at those and get a chance to look at it and approve it before it's ever sent out, to anyone. So that's an important step. From our timeline, we're basically, the board meetings are identified on this particular schedule in red. We're at our October 31st meeting. The green boxes on here are our facility steering committee meetings. We're basically meeting every 2 weeks, developing process. And this has been going on for several months as we've gathered data and information about the projects. And you've been seeing some of the later editions of the matrix as it's been developed and looked at. And further out down the page is our public engagements. Those would be the purple boxes that you see on the second section from the bottom. Even as early as our meeting today, we've made a modification to this I wanted to pass on to the board. We really think our first public engagement meeting was going to be the 1st of December, or the first week. We decided that with the holiday season and such, we're better to push that off till after the holidays so we make sure we get maximum turnout, give more time for the brochure and survey information to be sent out and results looked at. So what we've going to modify is the second week of January will be our first public engagement work session, and then we'll move the other 2 out in the same sequence. So about every 30 days prior to the April election, we'll have a public work session. And they'll build on each other. First one will be more introductory, talk about what we've accomplished and how in the process, and the other 2 will then be more detailed, with various improvements that we're looking at that will be part of the bond. So we want to build on that momentum as we get closer to that vote day. Data collection will continue, all the blue lines that you see, and refinement of the information, and then continued meetings with both our facility steering committee and update meetings for the board, prior to any public session. So you guys will be informed about what the agenda and the topics are, and we're working right now, for example, on the format for the presentation for the first public engagement that we'll show you first, so you have a good idea of the information and how it's going to be communicated for it. A little bit, just as an example, some of the graphics that we'll be looking at as we prepare for those public sessions. This will just give a general idea of, well, again, our categories for our matrix projects, and give everyone an orientation of the overall campus and the district itself. Sometimes it's surprising if you have a child just in the elementary school, you don't really realize all the other properties that are available, that are out there, and how it works. So we'll give some orientation, and this will be followed by several other slides. I just wanted to give you an example of how we're going to be presenting things to the public, and again, you'll be reviewing that information as we get closer to those 3 events. The next 4 pages are, again, another refinement of our project matrix, and there's 4 pages in this matrix. The first 2 pages deal with what the facility steering committee feels at this point are our primary concerns, our primary projects that we want to evaluate. We think they're the priorities for us, listed in the different categories off to the left, as I mentioned, and then across the top is your various locations. So projects are identified, and then they're identified where they take place. In some cases, they're only at one location. In others, it's a category. Access controls for security might be across the board that we're going to upgrade. So your colored squares identify where the specific project or type of project will take place. And these represent what we felt are the hierarchy of the list. The last 2 pages are projects that are still in the matrix, but they're not being identified for this first wave of funding that's going to be available. Again, how the matrix works, we continue to hold those projects. They don't go away. They're there, they're still in need, but we'll have to prioritize those as another funding mechanism comes up. So on the first 2, you can see to the far right, at the end of each category, in the light blue column on the first category, we have a number. That number represents a magnitude cost of where we think that category order of magnitude cost of those projects at those facilities. That being the $8,359,000 number. That would be our learning and wellness projects across those facilities we think are trending towards that level of magnitude cost. Each of them is priced out individually. as we develop information, but we're tracking those costs. And so if you go to the second page, and most people looking at the bottom line will go to the bottom right corner. We have a grand total number there of a little over $18 million. That's the value of the projects on these two pages. They also include escalation factors. We have to trend the projects from 2013 from the costs that were identified then all the way out to 2018, because that's when they will be constructed. So escalation will increase those amounts every year by construction industry standards so that we have a more accurate basis of what those projects will cost when they are bid at the time we let them out. We don't want to flatline our costs because we know they are rising. We want to account for that. It's a real cost. We have contingency still built into these numbers. At the early stage of the design development where we're at with the projects, we need a contingency. It's good planning. As we develop more information about specific projects, as we get closer to bidding them, that contingency number will come down because there'll be less unknown about each of those. So again, a good practice is to leave that contingency in place and decrease that as our information gets more accurate as we get further into the design and planning process. Right now, we're just at a very high level. And then other soft costs, which include financing costs, legal costs, bond costs, testing costs, will be all part of these projects, architectural fees, engineering fees, again, testing. There's a lot of miscellaneous costs that we need to track. They're real for each one of those projects, and we don't want that to come up later and be an over budget situation. So we're trying to track a true project cost as opposed to just individual construction costs, because really that'll be money spent. And again, those are all factors that we put on at this point, and those will become more and more decreased as we get more information. If we flip back past the next two pages, which are the projects we're still holding, and by the way, there are additional projects outside of these 4 pages that, again, we're tracking and we'll have. These are just the ones that were on the first tier, if you will, when we were getting ready for this particular funding issue. This page is kind of a description, and we would plan to use this at the public forum. How does this process work? Just like your home, our facilities are aging. We're fixing them, we're replacing them, technology is being increased. Any of those categories, there's constant movement and funding required to keep our facilities up to industry standard. Our 4 categories left represented here on the left. We have our projects that at this point represent about $18 million. So we've identified out of our bucket of projects the ones we think are the best value to move forward with. They happen at this point in time to be valued at about $18 million. We go to the second funnel. We're going to make some decisions as we move those projects for $18 million on further past tonight, because we now know, based on our presentation here right before me, we have a funding mechanism coming up that will fund approximately $12 million. So we're not over budget at this point. We've just identified our bucket of projects right now is a little bit larger than what funding mechanism we have. How many of us have run against that in our personal life? But that's okay, because if you look at it the other way, we're going to get a wonderful opportunity to accomplish that magnitude of work, which is a significant dent in our projects that we need done. And our job, together with you, is to find those projects that represent the best value at this time to accomplish with the funding available. But we're always going to be filling our bucket again with other work. As we mentioned, possibly in 2 more years, you may go for another bond initiative for a certain amount. We'll prioritize our matrix. We'll see what is our best value at that point, identify what that number is. We'll accomplish those projects. That's just the normal process, but we're going to be organized about how we go about it. And I think if we're organized from a community standpoint, they understand we're being good stewards, not only of the facilities, but how we're spending the money, because we have knowledge about that and we're tracking. And so we'll continue to make those other decisions as we implement towards the best value, and that process just continues on. So our next immediate steps, for us is items that we talked about, complete our brochures and get that distributed, get our survey issued, collect the data and analyze the data. We're going to begin a series of administrative reviews with the administration levels at each facility, again, to revisit our top tier projects, again, to begin to collect a little more data, get a little more refinement, as I mentioned, on each of those projects, so we further understand those. And we can refine the cost then at that time, and our contingencies go down, the more information we have. We're going to continue that process as we approach the April vote. So that's refining our data and our cost magnitudes. We're going to develop our presentations for our public work sessions, and then conduct those work sessions after you folks give us approval, along with our facility steering committee, to do so. And host those and build that momentum and that information as we communicate and collaborate with the community at large. That's our next steps as we head towards the April timeframe. So I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
I have a question. Doc, what's the next step for the board as far as building a resolution to move forward in the bond process?
Well, that's a great question. In essence, what the board has to decide is, are you ready to move forward with a resolution that you want to go to the ballot? Now, that's different than getting your bond language, ballot language written. But that is, the board needs to decide, do we want to move forward with this? And the board has to vote on that.
That's what's in business, right?
No, that is the services provided by the architect for the work on the bond issue.
So the 600,000 that pay our property hours on average, then we would have to decrease.
Right,
The number of projects.
right. And so the
And so
funding mechanism
that
that was expressed in the matrix does not have, so that's why he was talking about it's fluid. If the board comes and says, you know what, I think we need to really look at this, paying off this property, then that will come on the matrix.
Right.
And something to that, yes, it's going to pull that dollar amount out of here,
Or the steering committee.
but it's also going to free up $75,000 a year, $78,500,
Right.
it says,
Right.
to work on these projects if
Right.
need be.
70
So 78.5, I think.
times 2.
Yes, 78 times 2, that's correct, right?
Sure.
This is again 78,000 times
So 160.
2.
I always thought about it, actually, when I retire,
So that's a good chunk to get a lot of.
That goes right into our.
Right, so here's the deal, on the Highway A property, there are no funds coming to offset the cost of your payment. It's not, you're just basically paying $150,000 out of your general revenue every year, which is money you can reallocate toward other things that you need in the district.
So that would just go right back into our fire guy, our operating fund
Correct.
for other
Your general,
programs.
or you can move it into Fund 4 for painting capital things, those kind of things.
We have more flexibility.
Oh, well, that's what we're talking about. Getting more
Well, we really have
You have some questions?
Yeah, she was asking me, I was like, well, sorry.
Well, we already got a steering committee, because that's the impression I'm getting.
We have a facilities committee,
Okay.
and the facilities committee is put together to address facility needs, come to the board with facility needs, which is my understanding. And then the board decides, what do we want to do? Is this something we move forward with? We don't like that, we don't like this, we want to do that instead. We want to add the Highway A property to the matrix, we think that's important that we review. So that's what the architects do, they add that in. And then as they begin developing this information, then they come to the board for input.
So when do
but
we
your
start having
question-
those conversations? When do we start having those conversations? Yeah.
Well,
You guys have, but we haven't.
Well, I thought that for the past several months or meetings, we've been handing out the matrix and asking,
Yeah.
what do you think about this? Or things you want to add? What are your initial thoughts? Those kinds of things. So now what we're doing is getting, like, for example, when the brochure is developed, we come to the board and say, this is our thoughts, what do you think? Do you like this? Do you not like that? You want us to add, take away, which I think is the process that we have used. I mean, similar to our curriculum committees. Teachers write the curriculum, they develop the curriculum, they bring it to you and say, do you like this, do you approve? You say yes or no, we want to change something. And then that, once the board says that's the go-ahead, that's the direction we go.
We brought the facilities, since I can remember,
5 years. I mean, Bon Wolf was before these guys, and they had the
Right.
matrix, and we brought it every, yeah. I mean, as a facilities. Now, do you guys see, like what we're having our committees, I guess, Mrs. Shahar, she's asking, the steering committee, do you see, I know we're talking about the public in these open.
Are we gonna have parents
Do you see,
on the
you
steering
have like.
committee, or community members, or?
In the other 3 school districts you deal with, how does it, is it kind of what we're doing? Facilities,
Yeah,
or
definitely.
it's not a
It's
parents
a
and.
smaller group, and at the public forums, prior to that, basically about now, we could start inviting individual parents if you wanted to, but that's what the survey is also about, also to get more than just a few with it, and make those public forums that in time to have an actual workshop. That's why we call them a workshop, for it. We have to have, and that's what we're accumulating, more information so we can really explain what those individual projects are in detail. That's why we have a smaller group. It's too cumbersome for them to try and get a handle on all that information that's important. But we want to boil that down into the projects we know we can identify once we now know what that value is that we're shooting for. We're at 18. We've now got to get to 12, and a little bit about that is my recommendation for, as we go to the public forums, is to not have our project matrix match the 12. The reason being, once we have we're giving an idea that these are the ones we want to use. When we get to the actual design and the documents, of those projects, when we select one, it may domino into having to do 2 more, in here. Everything is not just one single project in its package. When we say we want to add 10 classrooms at a location, that's what we've identified in the matrix. It's going to cause some other issues that we need to take place just to attach that to the building. So we want that extra in there so we can identify those costs and then boil that down as we get closer to the individual projects. That's that flexibility that I think we can have. We're still accomplishing what we said we would, but there's other associated projects that'll come, as a result of that.
Plus, when you blend those together, you can see some savings also, as
no doubt. One
opposed
of
to looking at separate projects.
Right. When we look at individual locations and we have our projects identified, how much we package together at the junior high can save us dollars if we package more projects together for a general contractor to bid. And we want to take advantage of that if it's in our priority to accomplish those. So that those dollars, until we have construction estimate our bids back, that's when we add those up and say, this is the exact value of what we're going to construct. And in theory, it's the $12 million number, minus our contingencies, which are continuing to decrease as we get closer to that date. So it's more actual dollars as opposed to numbers that we're holding in buffer, with it. So.
And it's safe, 3 years ago, or 4 years, 2013, 12, when the first architectural firm finalized, we had the board asked us to bring us back short-term, long-term, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year. I mean, so we were looking at, 25, 30, 40, 50 million. We were, and I think today we could come up with 50 million, but if, what he's trying to do is get us down to 12, and we have 18 legit. Probably you guys have seen it, 25?
No, it's 22 to 23 legit.
Legit, yes, right. So the question is when we bring the parents in, the community members, they'll be overwhelmed. So it's kind of like he has a matrix there. It's gonna.
That's why the categories I think are more important than priorities when you're talking to the parents. Because I think it's important as a parent that we concentrate on learning and wellness. Those are classrooms just as the best example. But when I get down to safety and security, I also think that we have to provide secure entries at our schools. And that has to be on the list. And so there is a give and take of these projects. All of them somebody would like to have done. There's no doubt about that. But if we've got them in those categories and we're pulling from those categories and creating a mix that makes sense, not only financially, but, and we have a plan of, fine, that was step 1. We're not done with security yet, but we're making progress. But we can't finish security and leave wellness and learning at 0. I think we have to bring, that's that equity that people are looking for. And we need to provide that because they're paying for it. You know, we need to provide that mix, but moving in a good direction. And if you've got all the projects, even though you've got 50 million, that's just a fact of any large, you know, construction that you, or facilities that you have, you're gonna have a lot of cost. But it's how you're managing that and how you're focusing the funds that you have in the best areas that you have. And I think if we make presentations based on our expertise, the expertise of the people here and other people, to those parents at that time, and go, this is why. And we'll be saying this in the presentation. Our group that makes the presentation will be able to say why as opposed to and why not. Because we're going to be asking tough questions. Why didn't you build this? Here's why. We looked at it. It's on our matrix. This is the reason we chose right now. We'll have reasons for that. Without that, there's too many choices. So we need to funnel that down into this mix before we bring that element in, because quite honestly, we have the information and the expertise along with you folks, because we live, work, and understand these facilities. I think that's being good stewards to them, because it would be overwhelming at that if we looked at that entire list. And early on, this was probably back, probably close to 2 years ago, we did have parents in our facilities group as we were identifying the changes from the 2013 projects we have now. We had those representatives in there in those facility meetings. But I think we then, if you remember, we finished the primary school sealant project, and then we were waiting to identify the 2017 date, and now as of June of this year, we're gearing up with the list again, with the new items to get ready for the bond issue. So I think we're right on track where we need to be, and that's why it's important to get the brochure and get that information out to inform them, get those workshops in here and get those going. I think they'll be very productive.
Any other questions that someone might have?
I think they're doing, you guys, Greg and Roy, you guys are doing an outstanding job.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a very good group to work with.
Your success rate too kind of speaks for
I was
itself.
going to say, so we're going to do this in April?
We're going
We're
to do
gonna
this
pass
in
it,
April.
right?
We're going to pass this in
Okay.
April.
100%, right?
I think and we've been discussing as the facilities group, that the strategy of getting the financial information out that you just got presented and how it works and how that money is directed, that's critical to that. And the workshop will have part of that information in it. Very transparent. These things have to be very transparent and open. And it's not a session, at least in our experience, we found, of trying to sell. That's not the point.
Right.
We have reasons for why we've made this list the way it is, why those projects are on there. And if we get past workshop 1 and someone brings up an excellent point of why a project in the lower list should come up to the upper list, much like the property did today, this group will be able to respond to that and go, that's an excellent point. We need to move that up. But the one that moves down isn't gone. It's just going to be taken care of 2 years from now when we do the bond issue again, or the $150,000 becomes available, because not all the projects are $2 million. There are a number of those 50 million that are $10,000, $15,000. Those are as important to the people they're going to affect. I imagine some of these folks would say that. If I could just get that door fixed, I could do my job better. But Ray does an excellent job in his department, is very detailed about keeping records, and it's been very helpful, to move quickly through this and identify these projects. So it's a very good team effort. We appreciate the opportunity. I'm fully committed that we're going to be successful. No problem. We're going to enjoy these workshops too. They can be a lot of
I'm going to
fun.
hold you to that.
I'll give you his phone number.
Because pre-bond issues should pass.
Yes.
They should. Even though Hillsborough doesn't have that track record, but other school districts do.
Okay, any other questions or concerns or comments?
So back to my question.
Yes, sir.
So is that something that'll just go into the next board meeting to approve? Or?
If that is the consensus of the board, they would like to consider this resolution, we can put it on the agenda for next month's meeting if that's what you're asking. And determine, yes, we're going forward, or yes, we're going forward. That's the board's decision. And if that's what y'all want me to do, we'll put it on there for further discussion next month.
I make a motion, put it on the agenda. Yeah.
Just need a consensus? Okay, because it's not on the agenda for a motion. We'd have to amend the agenda to put it, so as long as everyone's all right with it, we put it on there and bring it up next month. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg.
Appreciate all your hard work.
Okay.
Okay, next would be Dr. Freeman and a graduation venue update.
Is it so fun for us to do this?
I know.
Okay.
It didn't last long. We did take one more.
That's right, we took them on top. All right, so I last shared with you that we had contacted several places. I have that list tonight. We had contacted St. Charles Family Arena, the Chaffetz Arena, Peabody Opera House, Hall Symphony Hall, the Sheldon, that's not big enough, the Dome at the America Center, Faith Church and Concord Church up in South County. We have heard back from the Family Arena and Greensfelder Recreation Complex, which Greensfelder was on my original list, but someone tipped me off to Greensfelder. They got back with us right away. I have handouts if you would like them, otherwise I will give you the report. I also heard through a friend of a friend about the Peabody, but I don't have that information, and they have not contacted us back.
16 to 19,000.
Okay, so Family Arena, Molly Dempsey told us that the Family Arena is available. They're not usually used as a backup situation though, because it's expensive. It's $4,500, that's the base price. And typically graduations run about $15,000 there when you add in custodial and all that setup and audio visual, whatever, staffing for the event. But that what they really wanted to emphasize is that it must be noted that with this being a backup location, there would be a really good chance of getting the date taken away if anyone decided to come in for concert. We would get bumped. The Greensfelder Recreation Complex, Trila Buchman was the contract person, or Eric Johnson. They sent us a whole lot of information that didn't copy well when they sent it to us, but they do have seating capacity for 3,200, including 1,800 bleacher seats. It is $1,250 base price for a nonprofit for the day. That's before custodial or chair setup or anything like that. And a for-profit rate would be $2,000 a day. They also said that it would be difficult for them to use as a backup location because if someone else came in and wanting to actually book a graduation for that space, they would bump us. So, and then the Peabody had gotten a hold of, or Dr. Corbin got a hold of his brother-in-law at the Peabody, and it's about 16,000 there. But we do have 3 emails into them now. I just haven't heard anything back from them. So that is what I have for you. I do have copies if you want them.
I can tell you I've attended graduations at Greensfelder, and it's a great facility. And I think if you did something like that, I don't know that it would be a backup. I think
So
we
it
would
could be
just
the
do
primary.
it as a regular.
So my question to you is, do you want me to keep pursuing? Do we want to continue with the contract we have with Jefferson College for the next 4 years? Jefferson College is the backup venue. It's $1,740, but if we call them by 10 a.m. the morning of graduation, we're not going to use them, we don't pay that. It's refundable, or we have to
You
pay for it.
mentioned churches, and I've never been, is Victory Church?
It's too small.
Okay, I've never been inside, I was just curious.
Well,
It's pretty big.
Oh,
Faith Community Church too, is that?
Two of the churches we contacted were Concord and Faith. Faith is the really big one.
Yeah.
Is that the one,
They haven't gotten back
the
to
one
us.
over there on Highway 30?
Yes.
Yes, okay. That would make a lot more sense.
Now, I told Dr. Freeman that we are moving forward with graduation
For
here
this
this
year.
year, and we're planning for the future as long, okay.
The Johnson's rep called, and we're getting ready to go to print with our announcements. So I wanted to make sure that we were good for May 18th of this year. With everything in place, exactly like we had it last year, so that we will be having exact attendance will be followed. Students who need the A+ time will have an option of staying at school that entire time to make sure that they don't lose any attendance for their A+. Any student who doesn't want to lose attendance will have the option of staying there. Otherwise, we'll have some fun activities planned, and they will be able to come and go, and we will capture some of their attendance.
And the speaker, the music, Whatever was a lot better this year.
Yes, our sound.
The
and
sound, that's what I couldn't.
Arch music, our Arch sound. I've already met with him twice, and at the ceremony, Dr. Cornman leaned over and said, book him for next year. So we've got him, and he does know the date.
Much better.
That was so much better.
Yes.
It really was.
Yes.
It made, well, I mean, it's really no use in having a ceremony if you can't hear it.
That's right.
It did go well. This is a huge class, which I'm sure you'll ask me about in a little bit when you see how many applied for early graduation. But this year is a huge class, so we will have to make some time concessions to get it consolidated. This is our largest class we've had in a very long time.
Sure.
Okay, so
What is it that the board wants to do? Just file this away?
Right, you want to wait till you hear back from the churches to see
That's
what they're
fine.
going
That's fine.
and then come back? Sounds like
Mrs. Schott is-
Greensfelder might be an option.
Mrs. Schott sends a new email every Tuesday, so that we're on, I mean, it's just one of the things that we're doing, so that we make sure that, but yes, I've never been to Greensfelder, but I was really impressed with the amount of room and they have.
And what were their prices again? I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so for the major, I can't read the top, and the copy they sent us wasn't any better, but for the main facility, it's $12.50 for the day. That's 20,000 feet of usable floor space, it's air conditioned, it's available March through September, hard surface parking for 1,000 cars, tables, chairs, stage, sound system are available at a cost. So then the seating capacity is 3,200, and that includes 1,800 bleacher seats. That's much larger than our own gym. They have a multi-purpose room at 1,788 square feet. That would be for more of a meeting room, but if we needed a backup, a space to hold the graduates, that type of thing, it is $60 an hour with a maximum of $600 for that day. So we're still, that plus the other would be $1,850. And then there's a warming room where I thought some board members could sit and have their hors d'oeuvres. And that is $250 for the day. So
Now, what are we paying Jeffco to hold?
$17.40.
Excuse me.
And we don't get that back?
Yes, we do. If we call them by 10 a.m. that morning. So if we make a decision and we make our decisions early if there's going to be an inclement weather.
Sure. Okay.
I would like for you to continue to gather more information.
I will continue to gather more information.
And the
Does anyone have any
sidewalk-
suggestions anywhere else you'd like me to call? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was expensive. I got the good friend this year. 16.
Okay, so there is no unfinished business at this time. We'll move straight into the new business of the night. Letter A is the approval of the 2017 bond process services proposal with Arch Images. So I need a motion.
Before we, I just want to step in just a second before we ask for a motion, put it on the floor. As you read down through here, you saw the complete proposal, the scope of work to be conducted. You saw the GFM, which is basically the guaranteed maximum format that would be billed, and then budget allowances. But what I wanted to tell you was, my key question when I spoke with Greg this afternoon at the facilities meeting was, the board hasn't even stepped forward with a resolution yet, and if approving this, if there would be any fees associated if the board elected not to move forward with the resolution to move a bond issue onto the ballot for April. And he said no, correct? Other than what you've done that
Yeah,
month.
that is for the total scope of work that we would provide all the way through the bond. If you decide next month, all we billed for is the hours that we spent to date. It's not, there's no penalty or anything. If you guys don't go ahead, we don't bill them. That's all it is. That's what the guaranteed maximum portion is about. You just pay for what we do. We don't go further, there's no charge.
All right. So my recommendation is that you approve the proposal from front.
And we saw this evening.
Yes, ma'am, that's there.
Okay, so Eric and Mr. Lewis. Okay, so do we have any discussion about approving the proposal that Arch Images presented this evening. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving this proposal? Very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to new policies. We have some revisions on the bullying policy.
Yes, ma'am. Bullying, hazing, and student discipline.
JFCF and JF for bullying, for hazing, and then the JG student discipline policy. So do I have a motion to approve? Are we approving these?
Yes. The change in law went into effect that these policies
These
have been
have-
revised.
Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
there isn't anything, couldn't change it. in
These were made, if you read down through there, you saw
Right.
what the recommendations were, and you saw that some language was moved, like bullying. They kind of pulled out bullying versus hazing and
Right.
split them out to make the separate
So
policies.
these haven't gone through
No, they
the
haven't.
policy committee?
And the
Will
reason,
they?
yes,
I
the
mean, just
reason.
simply for notification? 'cause-
Right, we did, right, Beth Ann sent it out to, we sent it to teachers. Did we send this to teachers for review? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I thought we had sent that to them.
These are the ones that we heard at.
These are the ones we talked about early, yes. You see, if you click on there on your screen, JFCG, you'll see the House bill that changed it, and it requires action.
Right.
And then we identified there is one change with our assistant principals being the point of contact.
Right.
That we voted on that last month.
But still going to the policy committee is communication with the committee and then on down to teachers. You know, it's more than just to me, a policy committee is more than just simply looking at policies, what's good, what's bad, changing, et cetera. It's that communication element, so.
Do we have a meeting set?
We
For-
did, we have not received any updates, right, Beth? And this is the only thing we've gotten. No new policies have come our way. We've had some administrative forms and procedures that have come through, but no policies at this
So
time.
we don't have a committee
No,
meeting
we
set
don't
up.
have a committee meeting set up.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve these policies.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
Second.
Mr. Lewis.
This
Questions?
one's a
GFC
GFC.
twice. GFCG on
I'm looking at
Look at the summary there.
Oh,
GFC
yeah,
is
one-
listed for both bowling and but each of the side there, one's GFC and one's GFCG.
Should they,
There's a JFCF and a JFCG.
Yeah, the G is the GFCG.
Yes.
But if you look at the executive summary, they're both listed. as
Oh, they're
GFC.
both, right, that is
so
incorrect.
on the.
On your
form-
executive summary,
Mhm.
they both are listed JFCF, but one should be JFCG. So hazing should read JFCG
Right.
Mhm.
on your executive summary.
Yeah, I think. So these do have immediate implementation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of accepting these policies? All right, very good. Next item is the FMLA policy update. Could have read through that, executive summary.
This is the one we sent to teachers.
But this one also has immediate implementation, or is this one
Yes. Basically, I hope it wasn't confusing. I know Dr. Isaacson worked to make it to where it wasn't. Basically, we have a current policy language in policy GCBDB, which is for professional staff. But the same policy is not reflected for support staff.
So we're adding this.
We're trying to add this into the support staff in order to have the same language equitable for all employees. And We did email this one out to staff members for input, those on our facilities, or excuse me, our policy committee. And I don't know, I had to respond to anyone that said, no, I want to wait. I think, how did you read the responses? Same
No,
way?
yes.
Everybody was
There
okay
is.
with it? Simply because it's uniform for all employees.
And the purpose of the policy is, we kind of talked about that before with FMLA. If somebody doesn't qualify, maybe if somebody has a cancer issue and they had 1,200, they weren't here 1,250 hours prior, they don't qualify.
Right.
This would extend the protection to them, where they would apply to the board, and gives the board ability to grant, hey, we're going to hold your job.
Okay then, so I need a motion to approve adding the proposed language to the support staff long-term leave and absences as presented.
Sorry. We do need to read into the minutes why this policy is being implemented.
Have to read into the minutes.
Someone will need to say an emergency has to exist. Basically, if employees have fallen into this qualification, they would be exempt. We found it an issue between our professional staff and our support staff. So
You need to add that to the motion.
we need to have it read in the minutes. It doesn't have to be in the motion.
So it's duly noted.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Second, Angie. Any other discussion or concerns? All in favor? Very good. Okay, next we are going to early graduates. What was approval of the early graduates at the end of the semester? Do we have any? You should have been able to go through the list of the applicants and review their reasonings and see their applications requesting graduation in December.
I move to accept the list as presented.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis. Any other discussion?
With the note that I appreciated the change, and they're all typed. We need, some of them I think follow Dr. Corman in their spelling and their typing though, but much better.
Okay. If there's no more discussion, all in favor of accepting these student applications? Very good. That looks good. Okay, next item is the fire alarm inspections. Is there anything we need to add to this summary? Is there anything?
No, just a reminder that our letter that we received from our local fire marshal about all the calls being, we talked about that. I brought you up to date on that. I just want to ask Ray, we're confident that the 3 bids are for the entire school district? Is that correct?
Yes, those will be for the whole school district.
Okay.
Why's tech double?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Are we picking?
We're not sure, to be honest with you. It was kind of, we first looked at it and they said they wouldn't change that either, to be honest with you. We're not sure. One thing I will want to point out with Firewalker, they will also finish up, when they finish up, they'll actually map everything out. There's always companies that actually will map everything they do. Actually, we put on the report.
Ray, do you have a recommendation, one company that?
My recommendation from what I've talked with these 3 individuals, corporations, including tech with Dr. Corman, my opinion is Firewalker has a good reputation within the St. Louis market, as well as the Illinois side, because they're based in Illinois. In my opinion, I think their credentials look very nice. They're very clean looking. They provide more information that they're going to give us as a district. So I'm more impressed with them.
Ray, what was the time frame? How much time did they need to complete it?
They will need basically about a week to get totally done.
Is it possible for them to do it over Christmas break?
They will be doing, all companies actually that we talked with will be able to do this over the Christmas break. That is one advantage we do have. It won't interfere with anything at all.
Are they actually going to smoke the detector and make sure it's working properly? Is that?
This program, what you'll see on this one is basically for every detector to be checked, every one. That's what the importance of it is, to make sure they're actually working. Right now, what we find out when they're working is when it goes off.
Right.
You know, so this test will actually individually do every one of them.
Now, Ray, correct me if I'm wrong, but Tech Electronics said just the intermediate alone was $8,000.
Correct. That is true.
Okay, being a newer building, having more codes, needing more alarms.
And you have more of the code compliances for as the newer ones come aboard, puts every fire, or every smoke detector every 50 feet, which is a new code that happened and occurred about 8 years ago.
Okay.
So there's a lot more of it.
Okay, so it was recommended then, out of the three was Firewalker for $8,658. Anybody feel the need to change that recommendation or go with something different? Okay, so I need a motion to approve the Firewalker proposal to provide the annual fire alarm system inspection to the district. Mrs. Saharsky? And Mr. Stevens. I was looking the other way, sorry. Any other discussion then?
Ray, they said, I do. So on the additional services they offer,
Yes.
now how much do we get charged, will we start getting charged from the fire? I mean, is it something we can send back to them?
To the fire department itself?
Yeah, so if the fire department.
Trips.
Yeah,
No.
if it's something they fit or check, but it still trips off without smoke, is it something we can go back on them and charge them on?
Not that I'm aware of, no, sir.
What about tech?
Tech, possibly, you might go to, if it has to do with their software or a point within their program. Because Tech Electronics has the monopoly where every point is programmable to that system. So yes, we might go to in that case, yes.
Didn't you say part of our problems is just dust? Even dust can set off some of the things in like.
Dust will always set off anything for us, but there's a marginal range in there. Keeps it from actually doing, because there's always dust particles. So those are already calculated into that system, into that programming. So yeah, you can do it, but it had to take quite a bit.
Are most of the false alarms at after hours?
Yes. Yes, they are. They usually occur a lot of times between midnight and 3 a.m.
Yes, my son's radio goes off.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor of accepting the Firewalker proposal? All right. The last item has to do with amending the district budget. She gave you the rationale, and we had discussed some of these things before, I believe, but anything else you need to add before we?
No, I mean, the biggest change is after we set our tax levy, the difference there, and in all of the supporting documentation, I have final numbers for last year. So at the end of the year, a little bit better, which helped with my projected ending balances for next year, which are still conservative. So, no, there's just those few items.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the final budget adjustments as presented for 2017. Okay, I hear Rob and then Mrs. Saharsky. Any other thoughts or questions or concerns? Okay, all in favor of amending the budget? Okay. All right, so we need a motion to adjourn. No, recess, sorry. I forgot we didn't finish our stuff. I get so. Okay, so we have a motion to recess. Mr. Saharsky, or Mr. Saharsky. Mr. Stevenson, and was it you that said it, Renee?
You did, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, well, I thought I was hearing that voice and I was thinking ahead. Sorry, so, anything, Renee. Boys, we're gonna call you all kinds of names before.
I'm used to it.
Okay, any problems with recessing?
No.
Okay, so raise your hand, please, all in favor? All right, thank you. So we'll take a 10-minute break and then we'll come back.
I'm ready to.
to executive.